guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back again with another Valentine's Day dinner idea. We will be doing our sides first, and we'll start by making some Hasselback potatoes. Here I have the potatoes already prepped, and I'll show you guys how I did it in just a second. I have some Gouda cheese. You can use whatever cheese you like. I have some garlic and onion powder, seasoned salt, black pepper, and some melted butter. So now let's create the slices in the potatoes, but what I like to do is skewer all the way through the potatoes at the bottom so that it creates a barrier. So when you slice the potatoes, it doesn't accidentally slice all the way through, because you want the slices in the potatoes, but you know, there must be like a flesh at the bottom there holding all the slices together. So I like to, add a skewer at the bottom there so that the potato still holds together perfectly and you don't accidentally slice it. Once you're done, you want to slice the potatoes into the desired slices, the thickness that you like, and then we'll remove the skewer, and this is what you have right here. We will set that aside and carry on with the next step. Next, we'll combine all of our seasonings and then we'll add it to the melted butter. This is like creating a seasoned butter for our potatoes. It's perfect because it's, super easy to get this onto those potatoes without a hassle. And it also helps to keep the potatoes moist while they're in the oven. Now let's generously coat those potatoes with that seasoned butter. You can get it onto the potatoes any way that you like. You could either pour it on or brush it on with a brush like I am doing right now. And once they are nicely coated, we will place this in a 425-degree oven for about 1 hour. Then I'll show you guys the next step. Once the potatoes comes out of the oven, we'll go ahead and place our slices of cheese in between the slices, but I will not be putting it in between every slice. We will put it, just in between a few slices right there. You can also leave this part out. You don't have to do this. This is completely optional. You can just go ahead and brush some butter over top of your potatoes and you can eat it just the way they are. But I like to be extra, so I'm putting cheese in here and I'll place this into the oven for about 10 more minutes. Once the cheese melts, your potatoes are done. After about 1 hour and 8 minutes, the potatoes are finally done. They smell amazing. Now we will set this aside and carry on with the next step. Next up, we'll be doing some sauteed asparagus. I believe I have about 2 pounds here, and I'll be using some flaxseed oil. You can use whatever oil you like or you have on hand. I have some seasoned salt, garlic powder, and black pepper. What we'll be doing here is adding our oil to our asparagus, and then we will combine our seasonings and we'll add the seasonings to them. We'll mix really well and we will set that aside. In a preheated skillet, I did add a bit of oil and now I'll add my asparagus. We'll allow these to cook for about 2 minutes. Allowing them to get a bit of char on it before we sit the lid on. Now, asparagus is very tricky. You do not cook this a long time. If you cook this past the time it's supposed to cook, then it becomes stringy and you do not want that. So we'll cook it for 2 minutes and then we'll place our lid on here and we will allow it to go for another 2 minutes. After about 4 minutes in total, we will now remove the asparagus and we'll cook the next batch following the same steps. So next up we have our lobster tails. I have 3 lobster tails here and I'll show you guys how I prep them in just a minute. I will be seasoning them with some melted butter. I have some dried parsley, Old Bay seasoning, black pepper, and garlic and onion powder. So what I did was remove the lobster tails completely out of the shell because, you know, I didn't want to use the shell. Most times why people leave the shell on because they want it for presentation purposes, or another reason could be they're scared of the lobster tails curling up and people won't be able to recognize that it's lobster tails. So I will show you guys how I get them to not curl up, and I'll remove them from the shell so that it's easier to eat it and you don't have to go through this hassle when you're actually eating your dinner trying to remove the lobster tail from the shell. So all you do is cut it all the way down the back and you just prise it open. We don't care about breaking up the shells here because we're not using the shells. So you can just get this out any way you can. Make sure that the lobster tails are still intact, and I will show you guys what's next. So to prevent these from curling up, what I like to do is place a skewer all the way through, and this will prevent it from curling up when it cooks. I got these on Amazon and I got them a long time for my air fryer. It's like a skewer, a kebab skewer for the air fryer. That's why it's smaller in size, because it fits perfectly in an air fryer. And I use them for, you know, stuff like this. So once you put the skewer in, we will now begin to start seasoning our lobster tails. Next, we'll add all of our seasonings to our melted butter, and we will now start to season our lobster tails. We'll brush the butter generously on those lobster tails. We will also flip them over and season the other side, and we will place this in a 425-degree oven for about, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes. Once your lobster tails look like they're orange in color, they change the color from, you know, this pinkish looking color to orange, that's how you know they are done. They do not take a long time to cook, you know. And then we'll remove them and add some more butter, and that's it. Our lobster tails are done. Super quick, easy, and simple. After about 15 minutes, our lobster tails are done. Now let's move on to the last dish. Next up, we have our steaks. I'll be using 2 ribeye steaks and 1 New York strip. I already washed them up and pat them dry. And for the seasonings, I'll be using some meat seasoning, seasoned salt, garlic and onion powder, and black pepper. I also have some garlic butter here. So first things first, let's moisturize our steaks with some oil first before we start seasoning it. We will gently rub that oil on both sides, and then we'll go ahead and start combining all of our seasonings. We'll generously coat the steaks with the seasonings, and we'll let it rest for about 20 minutes before we cook them. In a cast iron skillet, I did add a bit of oil, and now I'll place my steak in here. I'll cook it for about 4 minutes on each side since I like my steak medium. But if you like your steak well done, cook it a bit longer. So the last minute you want to add some butter, and we'll go in with some garlic and thyme. This just adds extra flavor to the steak, and the butter helps to keep the steak moist and juicy. Once the butter melts a little, we'll get a spoon and we'll spoon some of that garlic butter flavor over top of our steak. And once the steak is almost done, we'll go in with a tablespoon of that garlic butter I showed you earlier on top of that steak. We'll remove the steak and we'll let it rest before serving. And here you have all 3 steaks cooked to perfection. They are flavorful, juicy, and delicious. Now let me fix up a plate and show you guys the finished product. And here you have it, guys, the perfect lobster and steak Valentine's Day dinner. You can't get any better than this, trust me. You would pay a fortune going to the restaurant trying to order something like this. It's better you make it at home, and your spouse and partner will definitely enjoy. I do hope you guys give the recipe a try, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it, leave a comment down below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for me. I will be leaving all my ingredients and measurements down in the description box, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Have a good day and enjoy!